Hi everyone, welcome to World According to Ted. Now today we're looking at my new car, which is a 20-year-old Volvo with heaps of cosmetic issues like just being filthy, as well as things like the external trim, plastic trim, having gone grey and quite light in colour after a long life of living outside. So normally what I'd do for this trim is just use like a tyre shine or something like that, which would get it dark and looking good, but it would only last you know, at best a week or until it rained or until I washed the car. So probably not that option because it doesn't get washed that often. But today I thought I'd try something different. I thought I'd buy some specific car trim products that are designed to last more than a week. They're designed to last, 6 months or more. The first one is the Cerakote trim coat, and then the second one is the CarGuys plastic restorer. I couldn't decide on these two. They both had pretty good reviews on Amazon, and I'll put the links to the product in the description so you can check them out yourself. But I thought I'd buy one of each and do a side-by-side comparison and show you what they look like to apply and what they look like, at least a month or 2 months down the track. So the first thing I did was tape off the areas of my car that I didn't want to get any of the chemical on. I'm not sure what it does to the paint, and I'm quite clumsy, so I thought this was the safest option to just get the product on the trim and nowhere else. We're doing the same side of the car, so we've got even sort of levels of sun exposure and that side of thing as opposed to driver side, passenger side. So we're looking at the front seat and the rear seat of the passenger side, left-hand side of the car because we're in Australia. It's a right-hand drive car. Now the Cerakote come in all these little sachets that look a little bit like a KFC towelette, and my initial impressions were that that was a hell of a lot of money to spend on just that number of sachets, and that I would probably go through all of them to get the trim done on the car, just one application. But as you'll see, they go a really long way. The product comes with gloves, so I put them on because I wasn't sure what the chemical was. I wanted to leave it off. If you really want to read the back of the packet, feel free to pause the video now. But basically, it says don't do it in the sun, wipe it on, and make sure you make a YouTube video for the before and after effect. Right, there's more information if you do the QR code, etc., etc. Make sure there's plenty of ventilation because the stuff stinks. And away we go. This isn't particularly exciting, but it is good to note that it is a clear product. I thought it might have been like a black liquid, but it's just clear. And you can see I'm just using just the very edge of this swab, which kind of folds out into like a tissue-sized piece of paper. I've left it folded up, so it's sort of holding quite a bit of liquid in there. It's quite wet. And you can see it just glides on really quite easily. I've missed a tiny little spot there, but the coverage is great. It sort of instantly shows you what your end result is going to look like. I won't make you watch me do this entire thing. I'll speed this up so you can get through to the end and we can have a look at the CarGuys product. Now, as I was saying earlier, it looked as if I was going to need to use that whole packet of sachets to get the car done. After I finished this video, I actually went around and did the majority of the plastic trim on the car with that same sachet. And I think 2 sachets would have been enough for this whole car. Now we're onto the CarGuys product, which was very similar. Make sure the car's been washed and dried thoroughly. Make sure that it hasn't been sitting in the sun, it's not too hot, etc. The CarGuys product didn't come with gloves, so I'm using the gloves that came with the Cerakote. Obviously any sort of vinyl glove would do the job. Now this goes on almost like a wax or like a car polish, and it even comes with that applicator sponge in the packet. Initial thoughts were, wow, it's just not making the trim go as dark. But you'll see in like an hour after we apply this and give it a light buff off, that the differences aren't as significant at that point. What struck me as interesting also was the fact that it didn't seem to go as far. Like you're putting a fair bit of cream or lotion onto the pad there, and it really, I don't know if it's soaked into the sponge or soaked into the trim, but it did feel like it didn't go as far, and so I was probably a little bit more, it had to be a bit more, enthusiastic as far as applying it and rubbing it in, making sure it got into all the little, detail on the surface. Right, so this is immediately after application. You can see the CarGuys side, the rear door, not as uniformly coloured, and the front seat passenger door with the Cerakote on it does look a little bit darker, a bit deeper or richer, I suppose. Keep in mind that the application process isn't complete until you leave these for about an hour and then give them a light wipe or buff off. But you can definitely see CarGuys there, and now moving on to the Cerakote, which seems to have, well, you can make up your own mind. Okay, so now we're outside. It's about an hour later. We've given them a wipe down. That's the Cerakote. That's the CarGuys. And then underneath at the bottom of the door, you can see for reference what the trim looked like beforehand. So both of them are a huge improvement. CarGuys, a few bit patchy with the CarGuys, and then onto the Cerakote. Not perfect, but I think a little bit better coverage. Okay, so this now is about 2 months later. You can see that they've both still held pretty well compared to the trim at the base of the door that wasn't treated. This is again 2 months later. CarGuys, you can start to see some of that lighter grey coming through. Doesn't seem to have lasted quite as well. And now Cerakote. 2 months later, plenty of rain, driving every day, parked outside for the entire time. And up close again, CarGuys. This is 2 months after the application. CarGuys, CarGuys. And now the Cerakote. Neither of these products have been touched up. I haven't touched them at all from the initial application that you saw in the earlier part of this video. So that's it. Thanks for watching. For me, it was a pretty clear winner. The Cerakote was more expensive up front, but I think considering how often you're going to do this and how often it lasts, I think that's a worthwhile cost to get that result.